If you're a woman over 40, you may be dealing with one or more of the following issues. Although, at least in my experience, this is happening sooner and sooner. The issues we're going to talk about today are fatigue and low energy. Do you wake up in the morning and you just don't feel like you're well rested, or do you find that you're crashing mid-afternoon? These are common problems that we see. Number two is weight gain, especially around the midsection. As women, we have a lot of cortisol receptors, which is associated to stress around our middle. And that's why belly fat is such a troubling problem that so many women get frustrated with.
And then there are mood swings and irritability. Frequent changes in your mood, anxiety, you could be feeling depressed. This can affect your relationships and the overall quality of your life. We've had this with clients that we've seen within the last year, and dramatically how this can impact people's lives. And they don't even realize it until they have conversations with people.
Yeah.
And then going into hot flashes and night sweats, sudden feelings of that intense heat, and then you're sweating and waking up in the middle of the night and your sheets are soaked and everything like that. And then that leads right into sleep disturbances. You can't get to sleep, you're staring at the ceiling, you can't get a restful night's sleep, you're just not feeling as good as you could be in the morning, or even a lot of women experience waking up in the middle of the night and then your mind's racing and you just can't get back to sleep.
That's so frustrating. That was me for a really long time. So if this is you, you're not alone. A lot of women are dealing with this, but if this is you, you're probably making a mistake and you may not even notice that you're doing this. And the mistakes that we see commonly, and again, it's not your fault because this is what we're told to do. Eat less and exercise more. That's like standard Western medicine advice if you go to your doctor because you're gaining weight and you can't get rid of it, or you're dealing with hormone changes. Another one that I experienced in the past was, oh, let's just put you on the birth control pill.
Mm-hmm.
There's also women who take random supplements. I mean, if you go on TikTok or anywhere online, there's lots of different people preaching these different supplements, which, yes, may have benefit, but if it's not the right supplement for you, that's not going to be beneficial for you. You may have bought a gym membership. You may have bought a Peloton. That's something I've seen a lot of recently, and even medication. And if you think about it, all of these strategies are doing essentially the same thing. They're all focusing on treating the symptoms.
And what are the consequences of only handling the symptoms? If you're only handling the symptoms, you're going to have issues get worse. If you're adding in more supplements and more medications, you're going to end up having worsening symptoms because of those medications and increased frustration because you're doing so many things. You're investing in your health, but just not in the right places, and it's causing things to get worse, and you're increasing your frustration. And with this increased frustration, you're just not getting the results that you want. It's an emotional roller coaster at times because you're doing all the things that you think are going to help you, and it's just compiling and getting worse. So by the end of this episode, you'll understand the common mistakes, why they don't work, and how addressing the root cause is the way to get lasting improvements in your health. That is the method you want to tackle in order to make things better. We always use this reference, the hole in the boat. If you're just using the pail to get the water out and not addressing the hole in the boat, things are just going to get worse and worse. So let's focus on the hole in the boat and get things better. Welcome back to Limitless Health. Before we dive into what we're going to discuss, make sure that you are subscribing to our podcast. We want to make sure that you're not missing any of the important episodes that we have. We have so many interviews that we've done over the last few months, and they're really great and fantastic guests. And now we're going to add in some of the conversations between just the two of us that we think are very important to help with your health in everyday life. And today we're tackling the symptom trap, the common mistakes women make when dealing with post-40 health issues. And by the end of this episode, you'll be equipped with the knowledge to avoid these pitfalls and embrace more effective root cause approach.
So let's talk about the symptom trap. It's easy to fall into the habit of treating symptoms because it's everywhere. You go on social media, you go to your doctor, you go to any practitioner. I mean, this was my experience in the past, which we'll talk about a little bit later as well. But it's like even the natural practitioners, if you're taking a natural remedy, you may still be addressing the symptom rather than figuring out what the root cause is. which is what we're going to talk about today is the better way to look at things. But let's take medication for headaches. You have a migraine, it doesn't mean that you have an acetaminophen deficiency. There's a
Mhm.
reason why you're having the migraine. If you have skin problems, using skin cream to deal with the skin problems, again, we're treating things from a surface level rather than figuring out what's actually going on in the body to cause those problems that you're having. And then also following fad diets for weight loss or anything for weight loss. Weight is a symptom. And a lot of the symptoms that we're going after, they're seen as the problem, but
Mhm.
it's actually not the case. And this is why the symptom trap is an issue. So the problem with this approach is that it only provides temporary relief a lot of the times if you're taking the steroid creams, which we'll come back to later, for the skin problems, or if you're taking something for heartburn like Tums or any of these things, it's temporary relief. If it's not resolving the problem, it's not solving the problem, right? It shouldn't be continuing to come back. So essentially, it's like putting a band-aid on the issue rather than addressing it. Over time, this can make the symptoms get worse, and you can have more problems down the road and need more medication and more band-aids, right? And it just becomes more and more frustrating. So, if we're talking about something like hormone imbalances, a common one that women, especially after about the age of 40, is recommended is either hormone replacement therapy, or my experience was I had hormone issues and my doctor was like, let's just put you on the birth control pill.
Mhm.
But that was just addressing or trying to mask the symptoms. And when you're masking the symptoms, there can be other things happening under the surface that you're not even noticing, because the symptoms are meant to give you a message that, like, hey, there's something going on, there's something that needs your attention.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's an important area to address. And these are mistakes that, like, I did this too, and I didn't realize that I was making these mistakes. When it comes to like my story with this, I had hormone issues in the past, and I remember going to my doctor. I started with my doctor because I grew up thinking that if there was something wrong with your health, the doctor had the solution. And my doctor said exactly that with the hormone stuff. He was like, "Oh, let's just put you on the birth control pill to try and regulate your cycle." But putting hormones into the system, if the system can't handle hormones properly, is not necessarily going to be a good solution. And for me, these hormonal birth control pills, like I had a mini stroke because of this. And there's any medication, there's side effects.
Mhm.
Any medication, it makes your body, it can make things worse. And so after that, I was like, okay, well, this isn't a good solution. So I looked for other options. I went to a naturopath, I went to a functional medicine doctor, and I was excited and felt relieved at first because they were willing to dig deeper than my doctor was. So I thought, okay, cool. This may be what I was looking for. But looking back now, the functional med doctor still put me on medication. And even the naturopath used supplements. So, yes, it was a natural approach, which at least has less side effects, but we were still addressing symptoms. And I didn't get better with any of those solutions. So, again, if you're focusing, chasing symptoms, there needs to be a way to dig deeper. And that was something that I didn't even realize until a couple of years ago.
I have similar stories as well. I've mentioned many times with reels, and I'm sure other podcasts, just the skin issues that I've had. And yeah, it kind of comes and goes. It's still a work in progress, but it was the going to the doctor as well and getting the steroid cream to put on my hand to resolve these little bump things under my skin, which not so much now, but years ago they would dry out. They would make my skin like flaky and dry off, and it was really, really sore, really, really sore. And I'm sure other people out there probably experienced something similar. And now you're using the steroid cream for one, which I don't think I used it very long because there was just something within me that said this is not the approach that I want. And at that point, this was years ago, so I just kind of put it off to the side and just kind of dealt with it until more recently, when there was more of a natural approach and looking to find out why did I have it, what was going on deeper. That's just one thing that has happened where I fall into the symptom trap as well. And even previous to that, there was a time when I used to have a lot of sinus infections, and I those that can be extremely painful and just really distracting. And there was this weekend where we were going on this fun camping trip, And I had one of these sinus infection and it was just terrible. And I was just taking over the counters just to get through the weekend and enjoy the weekend just because it was getting me down and, I wasn't feeling great. So whatever it took to get through that weekend and enjoy myself and be involved, that was basically what I did. But again, I'm not tackling the why did I have the sinus infection or the sinus issues. It was all just surface based, tackling the symptoms so I could keep going with what I was doing.
Yeah. And a lot of us, that's the thing, right? It's the when you know better, you do better, which I can't remember where
Yeah.
that quote comes from, but I had that in the past too. Like I used to, same thing, the over-the-counter pain
Mhm.
medication. I had hurt my hip. I fell off a horse when I was younger and I hurt my hip. And so when I would go play ball hockey at night, I would pop like four of because the bottle said
Crazy.
like don't exceed more than a certain number in the day. And I was like, well, it's fine. It's no big deal. It's over the counter. Over the counter is safe.
Mhm.
And you don't realize what it's doing to your system. Like both of our livers were like, yeah, and we were doing it anyway because we didn't realize the impact it was having on our bodies. And it's when you become aware, it's like, oh, okay, well, A, I'm not going to do that again, but I'm going to look for ways to support my body because anytime there's symptoms, your body is always trying to heal itself.
Mhm.
And if it's not doing that, that's where we need to figure out why. And one of our colleagues, Jimmy, has a great quote that I absolutely love. And he's like, it's about asking what's getting in the way or what's missing,
Mhm.
which is two really simple questions. But just putting a band-aid on things over and over and over again, the body's message will get louder. And that's when symptoms become a worse problem, right? So let's talk about what you can do instead of falling into the symptom trap. Let's shift our focus on finding the root cause. Because finding the root cause, like this means listening to the body. The body's speaking to us all the time. The problem is it doesn't speak English. So that's where Amanda and I do muscle testing, frequency testing, because that's we can
Mhm.
interpret the message your body's trying to send. And we work with clients one on one to be able to do that. But getting out of the symptom trap means addressing the root cause and the factors that are contributing to the symptoms to begin with. Because both of us continuing to pop the over the counter pain meds, we're not addressing the root cause. So the problem's just getting worse, right? True healing happens from the inside. So, like Amanda's skin stuff, that's like the most common strategy if you have any skin problems is let's put
Mhm.
something on it. What if it's a gut issue, which typically it is? If we're not addressing that, things aren't actually going to get better.
Or parasite issue.
Or parasites.
That's yeah. I had to drop that because it's a big one. It
Yeah.
affects so many things in our health that should be talked about way more.
Yeah, absolutely. Hormone, all of these things, actually, hormone related stuff. Heavy periods. I can't even tell you how often I've heard it come up for parasites for people when there's hormone imbalance, when there's energy problems, when there's sleep issues. I
Mhm.
dealt with parasite larvae. I know, disgusting. You may think of me differently now. In my pineal gland, in my brain. And I was waking up in the middle of the night, like constantly, and it was
Mhm.
frustrating. And I worked with a muscle testing practitioner, and she said, like, this is what's going on for you. And this is when we can start, like, if I just kept taking, I never took sleep meds, but a lot of the times that's what the doctors will recommend,
Mhm.
right? What's going on? You're not dealing with the parasites. They multiply like you crazy, right? So if you're not dealing with them, they're going to have more problems down the road. So, yeah, we need to look at factors like parasites, like hidden infection, like mold, like
Mhm.
stress, heavy metals, radiation. How many people are in front of a device all the time? Radiation is one that's really challenging. And if these are all stressors on your system, if you think about that, and if the body's under stress, it's not going to be able to get better and heal. So we need to figure out what the root causes are and address them for better health to actually be a possibility.
For sure. And when we've switched from handling symptoms, focusing on symptoms to actually getting to the root cause, we've seen so many incredible transformations for clients.
Mhm.
When women take this approach, when our clients have taken this approach, fantastic results. Like one of our clients reversed feeling tired and her employees actually and family actually mentioned that they thought there was something wrong because she was acting so different and just didn't have the energy to do all the things for her business. And working with us, that changed everything. And now she's got so much energy and things have completely turned around. It's such an amazing story to share, and amazing that we have these transformations for our clients. They are doing all the work themselves, which is very important. We are just the guide. We have the tools to give to you and help you on a weekly basis get to these results, but it's up to you to make those decisions and use all the tools that we give you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you can have these amazing transformations as well.
She was parasites, the one that you're mentioning, who had the really low energy. And once we resolved that, yeah, like huge difference. She's a business owner, super
Mhm.
ambitious woman. And she's like, I'm doing so much in my day. It's like unbelievable. She
Mhm.
just turned 50. She had hormone, like her cycle was all over the place. And now she's like, it's completely regular. My periods come and go easy peasy. Like all of these things that we just assume and expect as a normal part of aging, that drives me bonkers.
Mhm.
But that we assume that you have to deal with this as a woman if you're out throughout this phase of life. It's like you don't. If that was true, if that was just, oh, I'm almost 50 or I'll be 42 in a few weeks, and it's like if these were normal parts of being 42, then everyone would deal with
Mhm.
them. And that's not the case. So it's time to start kind of digging deeper and asking like are the beliefs I have around this also like do I believe this is a normal part of aging or is there possibly a different way I could do things?
Mhm.
And there is, and it's becoming open to that. And that's the kind of the first step in my opinion to moving forward with your health.
Yeah, there's always a reason for what's going on, as you already mentioned. This is the message from the body, and we need to be able to listen to it and connect in to what's going on again. We've been so disconnected from what our body is telling us because we go to the authority who we seem or think knows and has all the answers, which is not always the case, which
Mhm.
what I'm alluding to is the doctor, because we both grown up, and if something's not right health wise, that's where you go. You go to the doctor, you go to the hospital to take care of these things. And us, as well as many others out there, are finding that this is not the only path to go down. That's not the answer for a lot of people. They are finding way better results looking out into the world to see who's doing things on a natural method, and then also looking for the root cause of things. And that makes all the difference in the world.
Absolutely. All right, well hopefully you enjoyed this episode and you took something away from it. Again, as Amanda said earlier, make sure you follow us on social media. But I also want to invite you. We have a webinar coming up on June 21st where we're going to talk about sleep. And sleep is one of those things that's often not given enough credit. That was something, so when I was going through my hormone issues, I was in school for holistic nutrition at the time, and I thought getting to the gym was the most important thing I could do. I didn't want to gain the freshman 40. So I would set my alarm and get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to make sure I can cram in some study time and then get to the gym and then get to school. But sleep, when it comes to your health, sleep is one of the most important factors that we don't give the credit that it deserves. So if you're interested in joining our webinar on June 21st, go to our website, alignnaturalhealth.com, and you'll be able to sign up for this. Otherwise, check out the show notes as well. Like we'll have the links to all of our social platforms in the show notes of this episode and the link to our website as well. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and leave a review if you feel so inclined. And hopefully you found this episode helpful.